useless information in GTA games. We'll start with GTA 3 and move on throughout the series, finishing in the HD universe. In the game's opening cutscene, a cartel member can be seen accompanying Catalina and Claude on the robbery. However, in the very first PS2 trailer, the Leone family bank robber skin is used instead. Now, the Kuruma you drive in the very first mission has a unique teal colour, which usually isn't found anywhere else in the game or via pay and spray. The two police cars that are seen heading to the explosion don't act like normal police cars. Firstly, the policemen inside of them will never exit the vehicles, and they'll sit there forever. But secondly, for the first 2 in-game hours until 6 AM, it's impossible to gain a wanted level. In Luigi's Girls, by using Misty, you can completely bug out the car using the car crusher by triggering Misty to carjack you while it's being lifted. This then gives the car some extremely unusual properties. It has no collision with other vehicles, sometimes it will fall through the ground, and it will slowly grow in size the more you turn, eventually getting so big that the game might crash. The mission title says Girls, but only Misty actually features in this mission, but in the early version of the game you were actually supposed to pick up 2 women. Now, if you get into combat while you're in the presence of Misty during this mission, she will assist you in fighting other pedestrians. However, for some reason, she has extremely strong abilities, and she's able to kick pedestrians far across the other side of the street, which is kind of hilarious when you watch it. In Don't Spank My Bitch Up, Luigi's letter to Claude tells him to specifically beat up the drug dealer with a baseball bat. But there's a much quicker way, which is by completely ignoring that and using a vehicle to run him over, which is a strategy used today by speedrunners. In the mission Drive Misty for Me, when you arrive at the location to pick Misty up, once you sound the horn, she will really slowly walk towards the vehicle, which can be incredibly painful to watch. Now, if you get out of the vehicle just as you sound the horn, this will actually trigger her to run to the vehicle instead. In Pump Action Pimp, the title is clearly inspired by the fact that the target has a pump-action shotgun. Now, in the final version, the pimp drives a fiery Diablo stallion, but this wasn't always the case, because as referenced by King Courtney's dialogue in the mission Gang Car Roundup, the Diablos were meant to drive a Infinus instead. Usually the town hall is rather inconspicuous and bland with no signs or markings, but during the fuzzball you can see 2 police cars parked outside and a unique banner hanging from the hall entrance reading Liberty Police Annual Ball. However, once Claude drops off all the girls, the banner will vanish roughly 10 seconds later, never to appear again, making it a unique set piece that you might have missed. Now, did you know that Mike Lips, who we kill in Mike Lips' Last Lunch, is actually featured in one of the artworks for the game? Now, this is actually supposed to be Mike Lips. The game instructs you to flee the area in order to trigger the vehicle's explosion, but you can actually head towards the bistro and still achieve the same objective. Farewell Chunky Lee Chong. Rather than walking into the mission zone and triggering the cutscenes here, you can actually shoot Chunky Lee Chong from these bollards, skipping the entirety of the mission. Also, Chong's noodle stand is another unique set piece which despawns about 10 seconds after completing the mission. Rockstar Games gave Chunky Lee Chong a unique running animation called Chunky Ped, which is only used during this mission and only used one more time later on in the game for Two-Faced Tanner. It seems that this running animation was reserved for characters that Rockstar wanted to make fun of. The skins of the van's drivers in Van Heist are unique and cannot be found anywhere else in the game. They wear a cap and a shirt which reads Fort Knox Security, and the Security car in this mission is actually bulletproof and fireproof, and you can store it in your garage in order to keep it. The triads in Cipriani's chauffeur that are in the laundrette can actually be killed before Tony enters the laundrette. By using the gameplay moves faster cheat, you can sprint into the doorway and use a baseball bat to basically end these guys. But for some reason, Tony will obviously go inside the laundrette and act as if nothing's happened. Something the game doesn't tell you here is that you actually get a $2,000 bonus if you manage to eliminate all 4 of the ambushing enemies. The Manana you're instructed to drive in Dead Skunk in the Trunk has a completely different sounding horn to the regular Manana, and it's actually shared with the Landstalker. This is because it's technically a different vehicle, because in the game files it has a different vehicle ID, and Rockstar forgot to apply the right horn. On seemingly random occasions when playing the mission The Getaway, All 3 robbers will storm into the bank, but only 1 or 2 might leave. Now, you actually get $10,000 for this mission for each surviving robber. If you're lucky, you can get $30,000, but if you're really unlucky, on certain really rare occasions, all of the robbers can die, instantly failing the mission, even though you've not actually done anything wrong. So essentially, this mission is entirely up to RNG. Listen to the dialogue for the mission The Pickup and see if you notice anything unusual about the lines for Tony Cipriani.
But don't take no crap. Nobody, I mean nobody, messes with Tony Cipriani.
For some reason, it seems Michael Madsen, who was voicing Tony Cipriani, made a mistake here and pronounces it Cipriani instead. The stretch limo in Salvatore's Called a Meeting has a unique black colour and it's all-proof, which means it's bulletproof, explosion-proof, and fireproof. However, that's only until you enter the marker to actually start the mission. However, there is a way using glitches you can get inside of the garage and actually obtain this limousine while it's got these bulletproof and all-proof properties. In the mission's Chaperone's opening cutscene, Maria calls Claude Fido, which is a nickname given to a dog, referencing Claude's loyalty to do anything people tell him. Later on in the mission, the LCPD dispatcher makes a specific announcement during this mission while Maria's inside the club, saying 4 to 5 units assist narcotics raid at Atlantic Keys. Shortly after this, a SWAT enforcer arrives, which usually only appears on a 4-star wanted level, but the player will only get 2 stars. In Triads and Tribulations, again a unique police scanner can be heard. As the player passes through Chinatown and lots of gang warfare starts to commence, you can hear the report saying, "Report to gang warfare." There's a really small detail in Blowfish you might not notice. Right at the end, during the explosion scene, it will actually technically rain fish from the skies, but due to the large explosions covering the screen, it's not that easy to see. Although taking out the laundry directs you to pick up the grenades from 8-Ball, you can use any method to destroy the vehicles. That even includes using the car crusher. You can then keep the grenades for later on, which they become much more useful in later missions. According to the GTA wiki, after you complete the mission cutting the grass, no pedestrians will spawn in the harbour ever again for the rest of the game until you reload the save. So it's likely the cutscene during this mission causes some kind of bug that despawns all of the surrounding NPCs. But a bonus fact that many of you might know thanks to the Definitive Edition, you can actually get your own taxi, and instead of following Curly Bob's taxi, you can get him to get inside of your taxi, thus skipping the tailing part of the mission altogether and drive him straight to the docks. The ship used by the cartel in Bomb the Base is the same model of ship used in GTA Vice City. If Claude happens to be on board the ship when 8-Ball has triggered the explosives, you might feel like Claude would probably get wasted, but you don't. You actually get teleported back to the harbour, and there's no mission failure or wasted screen. In the mission Last Requests, you can actually save the booby-trapped cheetah Salvatore tries to use to kill Claude by pushing it manually into Claude's garage. This will keep its properties, meaning the bomb is always going to be armed. So why would you want to keep a car that explodes and can't be used? Well, stay tuned because in a minute I'm going to explain exactly why this is a cool idea. But anyway, there's a small glitch in this mission which you might have missed in the cutscene. You can actually see Claude inside the boat while he's also outside of the boat. In the phone call for I Scream You Scream, El Burrow pronounces Harwood as Hardwood.
They have a weakness for the ice cream. Pick up the bomb I've hidden in Hardwood, hijack the regular ice cream van on its rounds, and lure these fools to their doom with the jingly jingly.
This mission was allegedly originally intended to be given out by the removed character Darkle, and the original targets rather than gang members to blow up would have been innocent pedestrians. This is actually one of the easiest ways to obtain the Mr. Whoopi ice cream van. It's usually extremely rare with a less than 1% spawn rate in certain areas. You can get it later on through the import-export, but this is one of the easiest ways to obtain it early on in the game. In El Burrow's mission titled Big and Veiny, El Burrow mentions that Donkey Does Dallas magazines are flying off the back of the van, but they're actually Muff and Mule magazines. A police radio will report Donkey being dropped along the Portland area. And at the end of the mission, some rare pedestrians will appear near the XXX Mags building. These pedestrians never appear on the streets according to the GTA wiki, and they can be seen here. Marty Chonks' skin is shared with the same skin for a pedestrian that can be seen walking the streets. In the broken definitive edition of the game, Marty Chonks has a chance to spawn as a randomized variation of his default skin that can walk on the streets. So what this means is that sometimes Marty Chonks can be seen wearing a baseball cap rather than his fedora. So let's talk about why we saved that bulletproof cheetah with the explosive properties. So this actually comes into play for the very next mission called Sayonara Salvatore. You can trick Salvatore into getting into this cheetah and blowing him up, which is ironic but also really awesome at the same time. In the mission Under Surveillance, the Rumpo van used by the enemies is a unique jet black colour which cannot be obtained anywhere else in the game, even via a pay and spray. So you can store this one in your garage. In Two-Faced Tanner, this mission pokes fun at the protagonist of the Driver video game series. Asuka calls Tanner a strangely animated undercover cop and notes that he, quote, can't drive. Tanner is the only other ped besides Chunky Lee Chong that uses the comedic Chunky running animation that we mentioned earlier. The blood splatter seen inside of the cell in Kanbu Bustout is the same texture used in GTA Vice City in the Apartment 3C Easter egg. The same bloodstain can then be found again a second time in GTA 3 in the mission Grand Theft Aero. Cars we have to steal in the mission titled Grand Theft Auto all have a unique cherry red paint job. However, code left in the game files suggest in the beta version for this mission, the player was additionally meant to deliver a Banshee and Landstalker as well, making the mission even more lengthy and tedious. In Deal Steal, the in-game objective text when you reach the waypoint has a spelling mistake. You might actually miss this unless you look closely, because it spells the word destroy slightly wrong, where it spells distory. To be honest, when you're looking at this with a quick glance, there's absolutely no way you would be able to tell. Now, although you seemingly kill Leon McCaffrey in the mission Silence the Sneak, this guy survives and later returns in a mission called Plaster Blaster, where we have to chase his ambulance and damage it until he falls out, which reveals him encased in plaster. Now, there's a unique dispatcher audio file for this mission which says he's taken the bait, shoot to kill. Now, if you push McCaffrey into the water, you'll see a unique message stating that the witness has drowned. Now, in the game files, you can actually find a working pedestrian version of Leon McCaffrey in all of his bandages, but for some reason this wasn't used, so it looks like initially this guy would have got out of the back of the ambulance and run away from the player. In the mission Arms Shortage, if you have the patience, you can manually push the Rhino tank to your garage, unlocking it much earlier than intended. As we know, in GTA Vice City, Phil Cassidy loses his arm in a moonshine explosion. However, in this mission, he claims that he lost his arm in Nicaragua. The 6 pieces of evidence you collect in Evidence Dash are represented as floating photographs. This is the only time this type of pickup is used, and it was created exclusively for this evidence gathering mission. Minchowski's partner's boat in the mission Gone Fishing is a special, unique model named the Ghost. Now, this cannot be found anywhere else in the game. The boat's default color is police car blue, and in the PS2 version, the vehicle is actually called Ghost Missing because a valid GXT name isn't assigned to it in the game's coding. The moment you kill Kenji in Wakagashira Wipeout, a unique dispatch audio states call all units, gunfire reported in the multi-story car park in Newport. Apparently in the beta version of this mission, for some reason, a butler was meant to appear, and we can see him in the game files, but we don't know what part he was meant to play. It's possible he was supposed to be in the cutscene with Donald Love before the mission actually starts. In the mission Shima, after the cutscene where you confront an angry salesman, for some extremely odd reason, the safe house garages will no longer repair your vehicles. As soon as the mission ends though, the vehicle garages will return to their usual properties and functionalities, which is extremely odd. During Bling Bling Scramble, the player is not punished with mission failure if you destroy all the other races in the mission, unlike other payphone races given to Claude throughout the game. So this could be passed incredibly easily just by blowing up all of the rival races and then taking it at your own pace. Originally in Kingdom Come, the game referenced the spanked up madmen as suicide bombers, but following the September attacks in 2001, too sensitive to include into the game, so they removed it in the later version. However, if you have the European release 1.4, it will still refer to them as suicide bombers. Now, interestingly, this mission can be completed after the storyline missions, including the exchange, even though Catalina at that point is dead. And the spanked up madmen are actually voiced by the same voice actor who also provided the voice for the White Rabbit in Manhunt, another Rockstar game. If the player starts a new game on a memory card with the de-ice mission Rumble completed, the purple nines who are wiped out in that mission will not spawn in the new game due to a programming oversight. This will make it impossible to complete Uzi Money and subsequent de-ice missions, as killing Purple Nine's gang members is the objective of these missions. In the mission A Drop in the Ocean, it's been discovered that once the aircraft drops all 6 packages, it will actually continue to fly and land at the airport before taxiing into the hangar, of which it appears in the mission Grand Theft Aero in the very next mission. In the mission Grand Theft Aero, a Panlantic van is seen driving away from the hangar. Now, if the player follows it, it will get all the way to the middle of the lift bridge and remain parked there, frozen in place. It's also bulletproof and fireproof. The LCPD dispatcher makes a specific alert during the mission decoy as well, saying all units be on lookout for a security car in Pine Creek area. Suspect is armed and dangerous.
All units be on lookout for security car in Pine Creek area. Suspect is armed and dangerous.
Before you get into the vehicle, you can also see a bunch of cops in the surrounding area, and it seems that Rockstar wanted us to struggle on this mission because using a pay and spray garage will not remove your wanted level. Ray's message seen at the end of Marked Man is a reference to GTA Vice City, where he says "see you in Miami." Obviously, GTA Vice City was planned as GTA 3 DLC until Rockstar decided to make it their own fully fledged game, so it was a cool little Easter egg while it lasted. Anyway, in this mission you have to deliver Ray to the airport while avoiding the CIA. But if you didn't realize, you can just take the subway station with him and get there a lot easier. The Sentinels driven by the cartel in the mission Bait are unique because they're damage proof and tip proof, which means they will take no damage from ramming them and they will not catch fire if they're flipped over. It seems that Rockstar did this because the player fails the mission if they kill any of the pursuing enemies, so in order to make it easier, Rockstar just decided to make it so the AI enemies accidentally tip their vehicle over, you won't get blamed for it. If you're enjoying the video so far, it would really help out if you haven't already to click that subscribe button, and I make tons of GTA videos just like this one, and I plan on making many more in the future. The mission Espresso to Go is infamous for its difficulty. 9 tiny espresso stands all around the map with no minimap markers. Anyway, according to the mission's opening cutscene, the Espresso to Go stalls were actually originally called Kappa Coffee House. Obviously, the mission SAM stands for Surface to Air Missile, and indeed you use a rocket launcher to shoot down the Dodo plane. But Asuka says that you have 3 hours to reach the airport. However, once the game actually starts and the mission begins, you actually have 3.5 hours, so a tiny little mistake that many of you probably missed. The exchange is the only mission in the game officially to be given by Catalina. The mansion we arrive at actually used to belong to Donald Love, as explained in Liberty City Stories. Now, some unused text can be found in the file called American GXT, attached to this mission, suggesting that Maria actually had more lines to say in the beta version, but it seems that Rockstar Games cut her sentences short just before Claude shoots her.
I broke a nail and my hair is ruined. I mean, can you believe it? This one cost me $50.
According to the PlayStation 2 files, there was originally going to be busker NPCs that you could likely see on the street playing music. This would have added so much more atmosphere and character to the city, and I can't really imagine why this was removed from the game. Anyway, this awesome YouTube video shows what it would have looked like if the NPCs were then added back to the game. And this is using the actual models found in the files on the PlayStation 2 version. According to game previews from gaming magazines, the loading screens would have had advertisements for in-game brands on them. You can see this is an advertisement for dog food. GTA 3 was originally going to be completely two-dimensional. Some deny this fact, but in a GTA series video, they revealed they got their hands on an exclusive developer's handbook. Essentially, this is a blueprint to the entire game. In this document, there was a devlog section where they mentioned that the game had shifted from a two-dimensional bird's eye view now to 3D, proving that at one point we almost got an entirely two-dimensional top-down version of this game only, reminiscent of GTA 1 and GTA 2. In the beta version of GTA 3, there was originally going to be blue cop cars instead of black. As per this German TV advertisement, we can see some of these blue police cars in the background of the gameplay. Now, it's not necessarily confirmed why they changed this, but blue is the colour of New York City police cars, where GTA 3's Liberty City is based on. Thus, I guess it sort of distanced the game from real life a little bit more. This German TV advert also shows that at some point Claude had the ability to blow up planes taxiing the airport runway, and you can see why Rockstar Games had to remove this feature. That being said though, you can actually still blow up Dodo aircraft flying around the map, which I had no idea this was a thing in GTA 3. I knew it was a thing in Vice City. If you blow up the Dodo, you get a 4-star wanted level. The original color palette for the game was highly saturated and heavily contrasted. The game looked more like a cartoon than it did a gloomy, realistic depiction of New York, which for 2001 is what GTA 3 looked like. Take a look at this screenshot here. I find this really interesting. Down in the bottom left, you can see that the health bar was indicated as a bar, shall we say, right beside the minimap. You can see here in real time how the art direction really shifted as the game progressed from this really over-the-top cartoonish looking game to what we know it now as somewhat of a realistic, for the time, really gloomy and dark game. The original logo seen in the background here behind Dan Houser, you can see actually had red and orange theming to it. And this logo was actually discovered in the Vice City game files. However, the original logo of the game was going to actually look like this. This is what the alpha version of the logo looked like. A completely unused introduction cutscene was removed from the game, found on YouTube by a channel called Calm Gaming Studios. Now, in the final version of the game, we see Claude being shipped off to prison in the back of a van with some really cool ominous music playing and some cinematic shots of the Callahan Bridge. However, this is an example of what the actual intro would have looked like if Rockstar Games had have been able to execute their master plan or their vision that they had. So I'm only playing you a small snippet there because you probably get the point. It carries on playing with this music, but this version of the GTA 3 intro was likely altered due to PS2 hardware and data limitations, because as revealed by the design document from GTA series videos, the original plan was actually to showcase a montage of the city, previewing gameplay and highlighting players' freedoms. So according to the document, the camera would have panned across the city, displaying in a text box in the top left-hand corner about certain gameplay facts and features. So that's really interesting, and you can see how there's a lot of pop-in this intro, which is probably why Rockstar Games were never able to actually add this to the final game. A pedestrian can be found in the game files called Tom Novi. Now, Tom is a real-life German musician, and his soundtrack Back to the Streets was used in a very early GTA 3 trailer, but nothing else is left to give us a clue as to what he would have done in the game. A GTA 3 beta preview was featured in the Power Station Gaming magazine issue number 69. Yep, seriously, 69. Now, inside of this preview was a beta screenshot showing a giant, horrific, ugly face sculpture or statue that could be found somewhere on the map. But in the final game, no such prop or statue exists. Now, this looks truly horrifying, And there's actually something similar to this in New York in real life, which I believe is supposed to be the face of the Statue of Liberty. So I guess this was Rockstar's version of copying this. Interesting. I guess they removed it because it was seriously ugly? I don't know. Now I'm going to show you guys an Easter egg which can only be found on the very first European version of the game on PlayStation 2, which is quite rare. Now, this version was rushed and apparently was sent by mistake to the mastering factories. And it featured a ton of cut features that were left in by mistake because these were files that predated the September attacks, which Rockstar then had to censor and change a ton of things in the game. Now, this Easter egg involves this ped, which is called Male01. On occasion, when bumped into, this pedestrian can be heard saying he designed the PlayStation 2.
I designed the PS2.
Now, in all other games or game versions, this voice line was completely cut. You can see a street criminal pickpocket NPC who will then snag cash from a nearby pedestrian's pocket. And amazingly, if you point a gun at this pickpocket using the console controls, he will put his hands up, surrender, and drop the cash on the floor. These guys come in two variants and can be seen almost anywhere on the map. So if you've seen NPCs chasing each other down and fighting, this is probably a victim of thievery. GTA 3 was originally planned to release on Sega Dreamcast alongside the PlayStation 2 version, but due to the limited power of the console at the time, the idea of this was then totally scrapped. But amazingly, just this year, some extremely talented people have actually managed to get a version of GTA 3 running on the Dreamcast hardware, and it is seriously impressive. So yeah, well done to those guys, and to even get that working is an insane achievement. The PC version of the game was originally planned to have a multiplayer mode with several PvP maps added to the game. One of these maps would be a sewer system underneath the city, which was attached to the side of the Bank of Liberty. You could see these walls blown up with dynamite, and if you go through there, you can enter the gold room. There's also a generator room and these really eerie staircases and hallways. But another location that would have been a deathmatch map was the Sky High building site. This would have been a really cool map, and you can just imagine fighting each other on these dangerously high platforms overlooking Liberty City. So these maps were actually found later on after the game's release on mobile version, because for some reason they accidentally left these files in that version of the game. So if it wasn't for this mistake, we never would have known that these would have existed. Now, there's a mission in GTA 3 called Two-Faced Tanner, and this is an obvious reference to John Tanner, who's the protagonist of the Driver video game series. Now, he has a very brief appearance as a secondary character. This is the beginning of a very comedic feud between Rockstar and the devs of Driver. In Driver 3, players can find an Easter egg of a character named Timmy Versamelli, who sports a Hawaiian shirt and armbands, which was poking fun at Tommy Vercetti's inability to swim. Well, in GTA 3, I guess this started the whole feud. Not only do you have to kill Dick Tanner, which is a hilarious name, but also they decided to give his character the animations of a woman, basically saying that John Tanner from the Driver series is a girl, basically. There is a billboard of which says "See you in Miami," showing a depiction of a plane at Miami Airport. And at the time, of course, when GTA 3 came out, this was considered just background filler. But as you know, the follow-up game from GTA 3 was GTA Vice City, which was set in Miami. As we know, Vice City was actually supposed to be a DLC pack for GTA 3. It's only when Rockstar realised that it had a huge ambition of its own and could actually go on to be a great game that they decided to make it a standalone product. Inside of the Twat internet cafe on the second island, you can see a monitor on the PC which just so happens to be playing GTA 1 and GTA 2, the original bird's eye view versions of the game that came before GTA 3. Now, every GTA game has a wide range of incredible collector items and memorabilia that are sent to devs, fan sites, or part of competitions, and GTA 3 was no exception to that. Firstly, we have the GTA 3 branded wooden baseball bat. only gifted to select press sites and journalists and Rockstar New York employees in the early 2000s. But let's one up from that. How about these real brass knuckles, gifted to Rockstar New York devs only? So since knuckle dusters are actually illegal in New York, Rockstar used a loophole to bypass this as a fancy bottle opener, which allowed them to bypass the law and actually give this as a real thing to their employees who worked on the game. Now, there's a variety of other cool collector items that exist, like playing cards, there's Kubrick sets, a variety of really rare press release kits and stuff like that, but to be honest with you guys, I wish I could get myself a pair of these GTA 3 branded knuckle dusters. I don't know how many of these existed, but man, if you have any rare GTA memorabilia and you're looking to part ways with it, then let me know, because I definitely would be happy to organize something. For many years, the name for Claude was actually a mystery, with many speculating it to be a variety of different names. It wasn't actually until GTA San Andreas where Catalina finally confirmed that his name was in fact Claude. The name Claude doesn't appear in GTA 3, and other characters only call him by nicknames. The menu dialogue only refers to him as player. Claude can actually also be found in the game files, and much later Rockstar confirmed in a Q&A for the 10-year anniversary of the game that his name was definitely Claude. Did you know that you can actually get into the car crusher with your car by doing a really cool glitch? And it has some seriously strange consequences. So you need to start a new game and progress to the second mission where you pick up Misty. You need to make sure that Misty gets in the front passenger side door, because if she gets in the rear, this won't work. Then all you have to do is drive on down to the car crusher and park like so the passenger side door is blocked. Get out of the vehicle. Once she knocks you out, spam the enter button and this is going to happen. The crusher will then drop the car on the floor and everything's going to seem relatively normal. However, if you drive for just a few minutes, driving left and right constantly, you'll notice that your car begins to grow and grow and grow. Your vehicle also loses all collision for other vehicles on the road, and occasionally you can literally fall straight through the map. Oh yeah, and if you've ever wondered what happens if you try and jump into this thing, well, yeah, Claude dies straight away. On occasion, you can find this pedestrian with a pair of headphones on. Amazingly, Rockstar even thought to add the sound of loud music playing when you're walking in close proximity to him. The junkyard scrap car models and the bus have some pretty comedic names. There's actually many examples of Rockstar games including swear words in the game's coding, and this is a perfect example of that. I mean, the school bus is literally called _school bus. Did you know that weather in GTA 3 is actually predetermined? The order of the weather is sunny, cloudy, rainy, cloudy, sunny, cloudy, foggy, cloudy, sunny, cloudy, sunny, cloudy, rainy, cloudy, sunny, foggy, sunny, rainy, cloudy. After that, it goes back to the beginning and starts the cycle all over again. Now, the replay system on PC wasn't thought through as thoroughly as you'd expect. It turns out that if the player stands over a pickup like a bribery star or a weapon, then saves a replay on PC, you can then preview the replay and pick up the object. Now, this can be used in a variety of ways, and can be used to manipulate the game almost as if you have a cheat code activated at any given time. As you can see from the footage here, I obtain a wanted level, and I'm able to almost instantly get rid of it by using the replays. It's not until this point in the video I've just realised for some goddamn reason Microsoft decided to activate some horrific microphone the entire time I've been reading most of this video. I can't be bothered to re-record it, so I'm sorry if the audio sounded like dog shit for the majority of the video. On the second island in Times Square, you can see an in-game advertisement for GTA 3, which is a pretty cool universe-breaking Easter egg. The sign reads GTA 3 out now, rockstargames.com. You can complete the taxi missions from any vehicle you want. Simply get into the taxi, press and hold the button to activate the side mission, get out of the vehicle but still hold the button. Find any vehicle you want, and now you can do taxi missions from whatever vehicle you want. And yes, it's totally possible in a tank. The video is not over yet, but I just want to say thank you to everyone who's subscribed lately. With 90% of people who watch my videos not being subscribers, it's been amazing seeing how you guys have enjoyed these useless fact videos. So if you're not already and you're enjoying this video, click subscribe down below. It's rumoured that Rockstar Games toyed around with the idea of adding a first-person mode to GTA 3 as well. It's been found in the game files, and it was even confirmed by Obi Vermej, who worked on the game, who now answers regular questions over on Twitter about his time at Rockstar Games working on these fantastic games. Now, he confirmed that first person was in fact going to be a thing, and all of these animations that we could likely have seen during this first person mode have since been restored. So take a look at what they might have looked like. As you can also see, the school bus was going to be an available vehicle, and we even have a 3D model of what the beta version would have looked like. You may have heard rumours about a cut character named Darkle who would have given the player missions such as blow up a school bus and so on and so forth. However, this was since confirmed by Rockstar Games not to be true. However, they never denied that Darkle existed. In fact, they admitted that Darkle was indeed a character that would have given the player some pretty random and strange missions, and the reason he was cut was because once they decided that he didn't fit the greater scope of the game and didn't really match the tone of the game in comparison to all the other characters, they decided to just remove him completely, which was probably a smart decision. The world record any percent speedrun for GTA 3 is just 59 minutes and 24 seconds. Set by German speedrunner Shivu. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. Interestingly though, the GTA Vice City any percent speedrun beats the game in under 10 minutes. So what's going on here? Why does an older title like GTA 3 not have a quicker time than GTA Vice City, despite it being an older game and not having so many features? It's just a linear story, right? Well, that's actually part of the problem. GTA Vice City has several non-linear portions, and there's a lot of emphasis on doing things your way. So speedrunners take this to an extreme with a glitch called script stack underflow. I won't get into the specifics of this very complicated glitch, but basically it allows speedrunners to manipulate the game's memory in a number of ways, and one of these ways is by starting missions way before the developers intended. In this case, the GTA Vice City speedrun does a very specific setup that starts the final mission, Keep Your Friends Close, right at the start of the game. This glitch is possible in GTA 3, but sadly you cannot unlock the final mission in the same way, and setups are mainly restricted to the console versions rather than the PC version that most speedrunners use. Even if we ignore script stack underflow and look at GTA Vice City speedrun without this glitch, the run is still faster than GTA 3 because you can skip the entire asset part of the game with other glitches. GTA 3 is stuck in a more linear loop. You can skip missions, but most of the time the setups to do this take much longer than just doing the missions normally. Once speedrunners are out of Portland in GTA 3, the heavy glitches pretty much stop dead in their tracks. Moving on now to GTA Vice City, and this game has plenty more facts you'll find interesting. For some really bizarre reason, the limousine in Avery Carrington's cutscenes transforms to a bright, horrible green colour. I don't really know why they did this, but my guesses are it had something to do with the angle in the cutscene looking through the rear window. Usually when injured, you can pick up health pickups across the map to heal yourself free of charge, but this is America and healthcare ain't free. So if you do the same at a hospital, the player will actually get charged $20 per heal. And that's kind of cool, but you're probably wondering what happens if Tommy tries to do this when he's actually got no money? Well, as it turns out, the hospital will refuse treatment and you're not able to get the health pickup at all. Vice City was originally planned to be an expansion pack for GTA 3, but then it eventually became its own fully fledged game. Tommy Vercetti in the beta version wore originally a much darker t-shirt and his face looked totally different. There's a lot of changes which we'll discuss later in the video, but some additional things to note is that the original police cars were actually going to be white and not green like they are in the final game. And the Infamous was actually going to look a lot closer to the Lamborghini Countach that it's based on in real life, with a much more stylish rear to the vehicle which you may recognise looking very close to what it looks like in real life. Deep in the game's code, fans have discovered an unused phone call dialogue from a cut character named Mr. Moffat. In the dialogue, Moffat begs Tommy for help, saying he's escaped the coop again and will soon be tracked down. It appears that Moffat was intended to call Tommy after all asset missions were completed, possibly triggering a mission where Tommy helps him flee from the police. This was likely replaced by the mission No Escape, where you break Cam Jones out of jail. Unfortunately, no model or audio remains for Mr. Moffat. Interestingly though, however, is that Moffat is the real last name of Sam and Dan Houser's mother, the Houser brothers, who are the founders of Rockstar Games. Another cut mission involved Avery Carrington. According to the leftover text in the game, Avery would call Tommy to request a chauffeur job, picking up his representative and taking him to a place called the Gator Keys. Now, the Gator Keys was said to be outside of Vice City. Gator Keys does not appear anywhere on the final map, and it's presumably an area that was cut from the game, likely meant to be in a swampy area that matches that of the Everglades in real life south of Miami. And if you need any further proof, there's a file in game called LOD Everglades Grass that looks like this, and you can even see that texture present from far away in certain areas of the map. If Tommy decides to buy every property, he'll need $441,000 in total in order to purchase the 7 safe houses and 10 assets across the game. Interestingly though, all 7 purchases of safe houses only total $41,000. $400,000 of it comes from the assets. Interestingly though, the mobile version of Vice City halves the prices of all assets. The Printworks only costs $35,000 instead of $70, the Malibu Club $60 instead of $120, and well, you get the point. In Tommy's Ocean View Hotel suite, there's actually a poster on the wall featuring Claude from GTA 3. You might not have noticed it because it's in this comic style artwork which kind of hides the fact that it's Claude, but if you're familiar with GTA 3, it's pretty easy to see that that's exactly what this is. On Ocean Beach, there's a video game shop called Rockstar Video Games, with some GTA 3 character art in the shop front window. It's a pretty cool Easter egg, and Rockstar Games do like to hide these small self-promotion Easter eggs in all the Grand Theft Auto games, and just hidden in tiny quirky areas that you wouldn't think to look. The Interglobal film asset was actually supposed to have one extra mission that got cut from the game as well. The code in the Definitive Edition files revealed an unused mission where director Steve Scott would ask Tommy to film a car chase because the studio's budget couldn't cover a real one. Steve leaves a special car at the airport for Tommy to pick up and likely cause some havoc for the cameras, resulting in him getting a wanted level and essentially creating a police chase scene free of charge. The mission wasn't actually playable in 2002, but the script remains inside the game. Interestingly, this concept was reused because in Vice City Stories there's a mission just like this at the film studio for Rennie, which Vic Vance has to do instead. Apartment 3C in Ocean Beach was originally actually going to be a usable safe house by the looks of it, because in these beta screenshots and in a GameSpy preview from 2002, it indicated that Tommy could take over an apartment after a mission involving killing its owner. In the final game, Apartment 3C is still in the game and instead now looks more like a Scarface Easter egg, but it makes you wonder, is this the property that Tommy could take over early in the game after killing the owner? Most likely, considering what's happened in the bathroom. Also, from this beta screenshot, pretty much proves that that is the apartment they were talking about. A variety of weapons were removed from the final game. These ranged from a taser, landmine, grenade launcher, a silenced pistol, which only came later in San Andreas, and most interestingly to me, a nail gun, which would have most likely been purchasable from the various hardware stores dotted around the map, and certainly would have given them more of a purpose. I really wish we could see how these would actually perform. It sounds like something straight out of Manhunt or something. something. Vice City is also the only GTA game that doesn't have an AK-47. However, the beta version was actually going to include one. However, you can actually still find the models for the AK-47 and the AUG, which was another rifle that was coming in the beta version, in Phil Cassidy's trailer in his junkyard. So the files of the weapons are still there, but you just can't use them. In the Vice City user manual, which came with the PlayStation 2 copy of the game, it states that Vice City's population in 1986 was 1.8 million people. That's quite a lot of people to fit inside this tiny city. The Desert Eagle is seen in the mission The Shootist, and Tommy is even given one to shoot by Phil Cassidy. However, the Desert Eagle never actually made it to the final game, and instead we only have the revolver and the regular pistol. In Boomshine Sagan, Phil Cassidy blows off his right arm in a freak accident while trying to show off in front of Tommy. However, when we later drop him off at the hospital, it's actually his left arm that's missing. And in GTA 3, Phil Cassidy also makes an appearance where his left arm is missing as well, but that doesn't explain why his right arm is blown off in the cutscene, so whoever worked on that cutscene definitely got themselves into some trouble once Rockstar Games noticed the mistake. Another mistake that's really minor that you probably never noticed is that during the mission where Tommy saves Lance from kidnapping at the junkyard, he then returns Lance back to the hospital, and it then reveals what the original name for Starfish Island was going to be, which is instead just Star Island rather than Starfish.
Get patched up and meet me on the bridge to Star Island, okay?
Have you ever wondered where Sonny Forelli's office is actually located inside the game? Well, it turns out that the interior for this cutscene is located inside the Ocean View Hotel, right next to where Tommy Vercetti is in this cutscene as well. And that makes sense because the cutscene switches back and forth between these two locations quite quickly, and for a game from 2002 on PlayStation hardware to jump between these locations, this interior had to be somewhere quickly accessible for the game's memory, so it made sense just to put it inside the hotel from the very beginning of the game. Speaking of the opening of the game, it was originally going to be a little bit longer than we got in the final version. You may have noticed in the scene where Ken drops Tommy off at the lawyer's office, the dialogue feels a little bit cut, shall we say.
Shovel in my face. Go get some sleep. What are you gonna do? I'll drop by your office tomorrow and we can start sorting this mess out.
Unfortunately, there's no audio, but it looks like the introduction cutscene was actually going to be a little bit longer and potentially have a little bit more context. And this isn't the only example of a cutscene that was changed in-game. It turns out that during the mission Supply and Demand, where Tommy and Lance go through the canals, there was originally going to be a cutscene of them obtaining the merchandise from the water.
That's the last of them. I'm gonna start her up. I think we got some new friends.
There's an in-game company called Spanned Express, similar to FedEx. Rockstar are really clever how they do this and get away with it in almost every GTA game. However, an interesting thing about these Spandex vehicles is that you will never see them being driven anywhere on the map by any NPCs. This mission is the only instance where you can obtain one that's being driven by an NPC on the street, making this vehicle actually a lot rarer than you'd expect. And did you know that in this mission for Diaz, where Lance flies the helicopter, you can see a guy jumping off of a bridge. This guy turns out to be a Spandex employee, so I guess their working conditions aren't so great after all. Speaking of rare vehicles, the only time you can obtain a black Voodoo is in the mission 2-Bit Hit. For some reason, rather than the vehicle's default red color, this mission spawns a special black variant which is extremely rare and worth keeping. I really like it how the GTA series does this. Certain missions have really special variants of vehicles, and you can't actually make the Voodoo black even if you take it to Pay and Spray, so if you come across this in-game, you definitely want to take it. Believe it or not, Tommy never says the F word throughout the entire game. He does swear a lot, but he never uses the F word at all. And from my research, there's only really a few instances where this word appears in-game, and one of them can be found on a poster inside of Phil Cassidy's trailer in the junkyard. Did you ever notice that you can spot a ghost tower far off in the distance towards the airport? You can only really see this if you're on the very first island. As soon as you transition from the first island to the second island, the tower will completely disappear. The reason for this is because when you're on the first island, this tower is a low LOD, so a low poly render in the far distance. Rockstar Games forgot to remove its far away low poly version and instead only removed its actual up close highly detailed version. So that means you can still see this ghost tower way off in the distance. The tiki statues used for in-game collectibles are worth money because they're filled with drugs. They were actually influenced by the TV show Miami Vice, of which Vice City is heavily influenced by. On one episode of Miami Vice called Milk Run, there were drugs smuggled inside of tiki statues, just like they are in GTA Vice City. In Little Haiti, you can find the Romero's funeral home, which has a window display with loads of tombstones and funeral stuff. But there's a tombstone that reads Stephen Mulholland, and this is actually a tribute to one of the Rockstar map artists, Steve Mulholland, who probably added this in as a secret without telling anybody while he was working on the game. There's a record store in the downtown mall called Vinyl Countdown. Of course, this is a twist of words for the famous song Final Countdown. There's also a poster that can be found downtown, which is an edited version of Iron Maiden's mascot named Eddie. If you're familiar with the band, you'll recognize this instantly. It's crazy how they left that in the game, but in subsequent releases, it was removed, unfortunately. There's a hidden beach ball minigame where the player will be told how many times he's bounced it off of Tommy's head. But if you're familiar with the GTA trilogy, you may know that this was an achievement that you could get in game. Did you know that if you're facing north in game, traveling at full speed on a motorbike, you are completely unable to pull a wheelie? However, if you're heading south or any other direction other than north, you can pull a wheelie at top speed just fine. This is really peculiar, never really been explained extensively, and just makes it seem like the motorbike has some sort of magnetic pull or something crazy going on. There's photographs of developers who worked on the game inside the Motorcycle Angels Club that Mitch Baker hangs out in, and during a cutscene with Mitch Baker, you can actually see an NPC that was supposed to be spawned on the ground, a waitress I believe, but for some reason it's gone wrong and you can only see their head poking through the floor. There's also loads of photographs of real people and magazine covers that definitely would have got Rockstar in trouble for copyright. The store clerk behind the counter at Ammunition uses a facial texture of Sam Hauser. You could also see a Rockstar logo on his outfit as well. But here's something pretty cool. If you stand on the counter with a rocket launcher, aim towards the windows, then turn around while still aiming, you'll be able to see through the wall and see a secret image that the Rockstar devs decided to leave in the game for us to find. Whoever found this first must have been so confused. Eventually in the game, you're going to have to do a checkpoint-based mission in a speedboat when you first meet Umberto Rubina. At a certain point, you're going to have to jump this piece of land over this ramp, and you'll see a bunch of people jogging on the golf course. It turns out that if you manage to hit these people, you'll end up getting a $100 bonus. In the mission Hit the Courier, if you actually follow the target, you can end up discovering a secret room. There's a room which doors open and these NPCs come out that are supposed to be there when you arrive in order to shoot at you. But if you get there early enough, you can see the doors opening, and you can take them out and gain access to this small secret room. The introduction opening scene inside of the car was originally going to be slightly longer. Thanks to this YouTube video, which dug up the animations from the game's files, we can see how Tommy would have been sat inside of Ken Rosenberg's car while they discussed what had just happened outside of the lawyer's office. Unfortunately, in the game files, the audio isn't present, but it's still interesting to look at. Ken Rosenberg's Admiral is actually more detailed in the airport pickup scene than in usual gameplay. With a slightly boxier body, a detailed tan interior rather than the standard generic grey one, and a different rim design from Grand Theft Auto 3. But after the opening cutscene, it returns back to normal. However, it does have a unique white colour that's unobtainable anywhere else in the game. Now, in the game files, a slightly altered dialogue exists, which reveals that Vic and Lance own a farm in Panama. And you can see the dialogue here on screen of what he would have said. The interior of Marco Bistro in An Old Friend is actually located inside the Ocean View Hotel. You can use a free cam to go through the wall and you can see the cutscene all taking place close by. That's because obviously the game had to store it in the memory somewhere close, so yeah, they decided to store it inside of the hotel. If you pick up Mercedes in the mission The Party in a car, she will ask Tommy if it's okay to rest her hand on his lap, which you've probably heard that dialogue many times. But if you pick her up on a motorcycle, she doesn't say it, which is a really cool attention to detail. If the player fails the mission Back Alley Brawl by destroying the infamous before Lance gets inside, Lance will actually remain in the area as an NPC, unlike other instances of the game where if you fail the mission they will disappear. He will then begin to attack you with a pistol and you can kill him with no consequences. Now, the song I Melt With You by Modern English is heard in the background of the cutscene that plays after you take out Leo. Now, this song isn't featured on any radio stations in the game and cannot be heard anywhere else in Vice City.
Oh, way to go, tough guy. Beat him to a pulp. That should make him real chatty. You want some too?
So I guess at some point Rockstar had this song licensed? I don't know, but it's a pretty cool Easter egg. In the mission Jury Fury, a Spanned Express tool van will appear and crash. Now this tool van is quite rare and doesn't spawn anywhere else in the game in the traffic and can only be found in this mission and, funnily enough, the next mission, Riot, where again you have to enter the compound and blow up the vans. But these vehicles don't spawn anywhere else in the game. In the mission 4 Iron, it's actually possible to snipe the target from outside the club, skipping a majority of the mission entirely. As soon as you've entered the mission marker, that will then spawn the target. You can then stand by this fence using a sniper rifle and take him out, just as you can see him there in the render distance if you look closely. The time given to the player to install the bombs in Demolition Man was actually increased from 7 minutes as it is in the PC version to 7 minutes and 30 seconds in the mobile version of the game, possibly due to the fact that this mission is extremely difficult, and playing it on mobile only made it even harder. In Treacherous Swine, Tommy is given a chainsaw in the cutscene. If you replace this chainsaw with another melee weapon, you will be given a chainsaw again. In Mall Shootout, the Frenchman's name is never revealed in-game, but thanks to Vice City's official Flash website, it revealed that his name is Pierre Leponce, or shall we say Pierre the Ponce. Ponce is outdated British slang that's often associated with someone who's posh. And the French GIGN officers, which ambush this meeting, have their own unique skin, which is completely distinguishable from the regular SWAT models that are seen in the Wanted levels, and these are only used in a handful of missions. In Guardian Angels, Diaz's Admiral is bulletproof, fireproof, and even explosion-proof. It also has a unique shade of light grey, which you cannot obtain anywhere else, and you can obtain this vehicle extremely easily by simply failing the mission and then storing it in a garage. This mission was also heavily censored from its original version in subsequent releases due to the original lines of dialogue mentioning the Haitians.
Don't just stand there, you pricks! Chase that Haitian dickhead down! Don't just stand there, you pricks! Chase that dickhead down!
During the mission The Chase, if you beat the target to the buggy, you can actually drive the buggy yourself. The enemy is essentially going to try and carjack you, but if you park against this fence or this wall, you can accelerate just as he gets into the vehicle, which will actually prevent him from carjacking you, and you can then drive all the way to the objective with him as a passenger, skipping the chase scene entirely. This is actually a strategy widely used in the speedrunning community.
So Quentin here. Quentin! They'll fly you over the area. Eradicate them!
Despite not being visible until Diaz calls him over in the cutscene, you can actually see Lance is fully animated during the part of the intro cutscene where Diaz is talking to Tommy, and he also reacts to when Diaz throws the plant pot. Now, in the mission The Fastest Boat, it's actually possible to enter the boat without having to lower it into the water. So in the original version of the mission, you have to access this marker and lower the boat. But the thing is about boats in the 3D GTA games is there's no animation to get into them. So if you're standing outside of a boat and you enter or hit the enter button, you will be instantly teleported into the driver's seat. Now, there is a small radius in which the game detects if you're within that zone that this can happen, and it just so happens that the boat is hovering there in this mission within that radius, so standing in this spot, you can just teleport instantly into the driver's seat. The Desert Eagle is an unattainable weapon that was meant to be in the game in the beta, but never made it actually to the final game.
Bro, you! It is my favorite El Burro movie, it's that.
Now, in this, Diaz mentions El Burro during the opening cutscene, and El Burro was an unseen character in GTA 3. And funnily enough, this mission features a completely cut cutscene which can be found in the game files. We're not sure why this cutscene was removed from the game, but it's actually really cool, and it's a shame it never made it.
That's the last of them. I'm gonna start her up. I think we got some new friends.
In Sir Yes Sir, despite Cortez telling Tommy to call him immediately after getting the tank, Tommy never actually does this. Now, the self-destruct security protocol Delta India Echo when you enter the tank obviously humorously spells out die, but if you let the counter timer go right down to 0, the security protocol tells the player prepare to die, communist scum.
Vehicle self-destruct initiated. Prepare to die, communist scum.
In GTA 3, during the Donald Love mission Waka Gashira Wipeout, Donald Love states that nothing drives down real estate prices like a good old-fashioned gang war. And interestingly, 2-Bit Hit in GTA Vice City is a mission for Avery Carrington, but in the passenger seat you can see Donald Love. And Avery says in this mission,
"Now nothing brings down real estate prices quicker than a good old-fashioned gang war. Except maybe a disaster like a biblical plague or something, but that may be going too far in this case. You getting this down, you four-eyed prick?"
Now, GTA Vice City takes place before GTA 3, and he's asking Donald Love in this mission whether he's taking notes, which of course he is, because he remembered this exact quote and repeated it to Claude much later on in GTA 3.
Nothing drives down real estate prices like a good old-fashioned gang war.
Now, the Romero's hearse in this mission is only obtainable here without cheat codes. And I actually thought that the Romero's hearse would spawn somewhere on the map in Vice City, but apparently it doesn't, and I've tried to look myself. So this is the only mission you can obtain this vehicle. And not only this, but this is also the only mission you can obtain the really rare Black Voodoo. It's a variant of the original Voodoo, which usually spawns in an orangey brown colour, but obviously due to the funeral, this one is a special black. The song that can be heard playing in the background during the opening cutscene of Death Row is All Night Long by Mary Jane Girls. The song isn't actually usually played inside the Malibu Club. And at the end of this mission, Tommy refers to Starfish Island as Star Island, which apparently is the beta name for Starfish Island.
Get patched up and meet me on the bridge to Star Island, okay?
Okay, I got you.
In All Hands on Deck, if you have no weapons equipped before you start the mission, you will be given body armor, a katana, and a submachine gun. At the end of the mission, Cortez's speeder is shown as having a red primary color, but when it's dropped in the sea and given to Tommy, it's actually white. Rob Out is one of the only 2 missions in the game, besides the job where you rob the bank, to have a reward payout higher than the final mission, which is $50,000. Now, originally Lance was supposed to talk to Tommy about taking over Diaz's empire after the 2 killed Diaz. Now, this speech is unused in the game, but it does remain in the game files. The audio is actually called arse_2.mp3 in the game files.
Tommy, man, we did it! We're in charge of this place now. We can take over. You and me. Vance and Vassetti, the 2 V's. I like that. Let's! Go on, Tommy. I'll be okay. Hey, this is a real nice herbaceous border. Hey, Tommy, can my room have a view of the bay? Beautiful high ceilings in here.
Did you know that Shakedown features a unique weather state? The weather is cloudy, but with more clouds than usual, giving the city a much darker appearance. Usually when this mission has concluded, Tommy will receive a call from Avery Carrington explaining how businesses and assets work. This is the mission that unlocks the ability to purchase assets across Vice City. However, in the beta, this was originally going to be Ken Rosenberg who called you in order to explain it, and the audio again can be found in the game files.
Hey, Tommy, I thought you might need some business advice. Once you got the operation up and running, you'll need to drop by and take the week's cash. Let the guys think they got the run of the place and they'll be shaving the profits, okay?
I know how to handle business, Ken, okay?
Okay, I know, I was just, telling you I know that, I know, just keeping it sharp, baby. Keeping it sharp, oh yeah.
Whatever, Ken, whatever.
If you equip a machine gun before triggering the mission stunt boat challenge, it can then be used to kill Rico when they get out of the boat. A little into this mission, you'll encounter a stunt ramp in the water near the golf course. And if you manage to land or flatten on some of the golfers, you'll actually be prompted with a $100 bonus. All dialogues and mission text referring to the Haitians in the cutscene for cannon fodder were completely changed following the Haitian controversy we mentioned a few times already.
My son, what happened?
The Haitians. I hate these Haitians. They messed with me for the last time. Take my boys over there, and then we'll take these Haitians down. When they mess with me, they mess with the biggest boy in town. Un gran problema. They mess with me. They messed with me for the last time.
What is your problem?
We'll take them out. Only we need some backup.
Now, the stinger used as a barricade in this mission cannot be obtained. It will explode instantly if you even try and get inside of it. The song that can be heard in the background during the opening cutscene is Compe Gatto, and this song isn't featured again in any of the game's radio stations. There's a glitch in Bombs Away where right after the cutscene before controlling the RC plane, it's possible to get out, allowing you to drive to the place and destroy the vehicles using firearms to pass the mission a lot easier than using the remote control plane to drop bombs. The enemies also won't actually attack you if this happens. Did you know that the mission Dirty Lickens is actually completely cut from the German version of the game, along with the mission Messing with the Man for Mitch Baker and the Biker Gang? The mission Trojan Voodoo is actually really interesting. The song that can be heard playing in the background during the opening cutscene is Campesino by Lost Super 7, the same band for the song that we mentioned a minute ago. And this song was released in 2001.
Who's that?
Hey, baby! I wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole.
The game is set in 1986, so this song isn't obviously featured on any in-game radio stations, but what the hell were Rockstar thinking? If the player drives a one-seated vehicle like a pizza boy into the objective marker in the mission Love Juice, where you have to pick up Mercedes, she won't actually be able to enter the vehicle, obviously. But as a result of this, the game will completely softlock. That's because the next cutscene, or to give the player control, was supposed to happen once the game registers that Mercedes is inside of your vehicle. In the original PlayStation 2 version of the game, the window where the crazy Psycho is in the mission Psycho Killer actually has a poster of Iron Maiden's mascot Eddie on it, which was then removed in later versions due to copyright. But the Psycho character was originally intended to appear without the groupie disguise after Publicity Tour, and according to the mission script files in the game, this would be a mission called The Concert, so that was a cut mission from the game. However, the character model mentioned in the script is actually just a cab driver. Now, the mission took place immediately after the mission Publicity Tour, so completing Publicity Tour would automatically start this mission. And it would be the crazy Psycho Killer outside the concert hall that then tries to attack Tommy and the band, and you're left to then take him out. So, which you're seeing in the background here, and shout out to this YouTube creator for posting it. Even if Tommy is wearing the cop outfit when starting Alloy Wheels of Steel, he is able to trigger the mission, and amusingly, Mitch Baker will still tell him that he doesn't look like the law.
City. You don't look like the law, so that's bought you a minute.
During the mission Messing with the Man, when Mitch says this whole damn country, if you look closely, you can actually notice there is a pedestrian's head on the floor. Now, this head is actually a waitress model, which was intended to be in the game, that was then later replaced with a male model by the looks of it, and it's now halfway stuck through the ground. But anyway, it's a development mistake that's gone unnoticed. Originally, there was actually meant to be an additional mission for the Interglobal Film Studios. This mission's phone call can be heard where Steve explains to Tommy how they need a car chase scene but they don't have the budget to do it. So therefore Tommy would likely have to create a distraction with the cops and cause a police chase so that the movie studio could film it.
Tommy, look, I need to ask you a favor.
Steve, how's filming going?
Oh, it's going fine, yeah. We need a car chase scene, and, well, the budget can't really stretch to it, so, I've left some wheels at the airport. You know what to do, huh?
Okay, Steve, I'll keep an eye out. Catch you later.
The song that can be heard playing in the background of No Escape during the opening cutscene doesn't normally play inside the Malibu Club in normal gameplay. This is also the only mission where police officers are given Uzis instead of regular firearms, and Cam's textures and models in the game files are named Mike, which suggests that Cam's original name was obviously going to be Mike. Hillary from the Driver mission for the Malibu Club, his surname is actually King. Hillary King. Now this was actually never confirmed in game or in the files, and his full name is never mentioned in Vice City, but this was actually revealed in his VCPD crime tree record as part of the game's official marketing on the game's official Flash site way back in 2002, which is really cool. If you run out onto the street in the robbery outfit during the mission The Job, after you're instructed to go inside the bank, you'll actually fail the mission with a message for giving away what you were doing. And did you know that Cam can actually die in this mission and you won't fail? In fact, it's actually written into the game as part of a dynamic event that can happen. Now, if Cam is killed inside the bank, he will drop a briefcase which you're then instructed to collect. Now, during the cutscenes after the mission takes place, Tommy and Phil exit the bank, and after they get to Cam's house, there are some additional lines of dialogue about Cam's death. If Cam dies, the game's script will indicate that Tommy and Phil get a bigger profit from the heist. However, the reward will remain the same. The song that can be heard playing in the background of Boomshine Saigon is Burning For You by Blue Oyster Cult. Now this song, again like many others we've discussed in today's video, doesn't appear on any in-game radio stations. And during this cutscene, there's another mistake. Phil blows off his right arm.
Oh, damn!
However, it shows him with it intact and his left arm missing when he's dropped off at the doctor's office.
Tommy, the wound is healing well. Funny thing is, I have fought in 6 battle zones and always walked away without a scratch. And now this. One-armed Phil. Still, I got me a healthy selection of one-handed firepower, so I'll never be unarmed Phil. You hear? Anyway, son, cut out the sentimental crap and go buy yourself a drink. You hear?
If you follow the courier in Hit the Courier, eventually you'll be led to a strange doorway which opens up, letting some enemy AIs out of it. You can actually go inside of this secret little room and discover that you can find a printer that is very similar to what you can find in the Printworks. In Cap the Collector, the Forelli members have the same model as Harry and Lee, the 2 guys that were in the introduction mission and was shot and killed at the beginning of the game. Originally in this mission, Tommy was actually going to receive a pager message, which you can see here. Did you know that Tommy must have at least $1,000 to start the mission Keep Your Friends Close? Attempting to start the mission otherwise will result in an error message, as you can see here. Sonny's right-hand man, also known as the Forelli Capo, appears in the opening cutscene of Keep Your Friends Close, but what becomes of him afterwards is unknown. It's time for us to move on to GTA San Andreas now, so I hope you enjoyed Vice City. Have you ever seen a hot dog van in Grove Street before? Probably not, and no, this isn't a mod. In actuality, hot dog vans just like this one found in the desert can be towed using a tow truck. Fascinatingly, the marker to purchase food from them is actually tied to the vehicle, meaning wherever you tow these guys to, you can still purchase food when standing by them. Remember that sprunk billboard the homies crashed through in the mission reuniting the families? Well, this billboard can be destroyed early on using explosives. You can even see where it doesn't quite connect properly to the rest of the sign. This can also be done with a bridge that's overlooking Grove Street as well, which Tenpenny crashes through in the final mission. The Leviathan helicopter shares the same properties as the seaplane and the Sea Sparrow as well, meaning it has the ability to float on water, and due to it being really slow, most players probably wouldn't have opted to fly this thing. So plenty of you guys probably didn't even realize that this helicopter could do this. Saving your game at Mad Dog's crib can cause a major glitch, rendering all the basketball courts in the game inoperable. The save pickup just so happens to be just within the proximity of the mansion's basketball court. Basketballs that trigger the minigame have a scripted zone that activates and spawns a basketball, which CJ can then walk into the radius of and actually play the game. Usually this script would deactivate as soon as CJ walks away and outside of the zone. However, if the game is saved while the script is active, so for example if the basketball is on the court and then the player saves the game in the mansion, the script remains indefinitely activated, preventing the basketball from spawning again unless the player starts a brand new game. The windsock at the airstrip will change and react accordingly to different weather types. On a sunny day, it might gently blow in the breeze, but on a rainy day, it will wave much faster. Fun fact, aircraft also react to the weather as well. See here, this is a video of me taking off in a plane in sunny weather, and it results in minimal disruption and turbulence. But in the rain or thunderstorm, using the exact same aircraft, I'm not pressing any directional buttons, but the plane is being blown far off course, which is pretty impressive detail. But did you know that they also included this for the watercraft, for the Vortex? In a thunderstorm, if you just sit there on the water, you'll be blown around by the wind. Did you know that you can pick up passengers in a bus in Las Venturas? This was a feature that was present in GTA Vice City, but it's something that went unfinished in GTA San Andreas. This is also only exclusive to Las Venturas. As you can see, a very small select handful of bus stops will allow you to park next to them and the NPCs will actually get on board. If you try and drop them off at another station or stop, then they won't get off. Pretty cool to see though. Deep in the code, there's a scrapped dynamic earthquake system.
All transit between Los Santos and the greater Red County area is still strictly limited following last month's earthquake. Officials are not confident as to when things will open up again.
The weather type earthquake exists, but it's set to 0, which means off by default. Now, if a modder forces it on, the earthquakes will occur, but they're seriously buggy, launching NPC cars into the sky and making CJ wobble strangely. This chaotic result is probably why Rockstar never added it to the final game. But with a little bit of tuning and using some mods, you can get this to work pretty well. The gas canisters found all around the map are labelled Casa Gas, which is a reference to Casa City, the setting of Rockstar's other game, Manhunt. I guess San Andreas imports gas from Casa City, also proving that Casa City exists in the same universe. Now, in the code, Rockstar Games left traces of a mission pack system, an early idea to support downloadable mission packs on the PlayStation 2. The menu and save game coding for loading mission packs are present, but it shows that Rockstar had considered post-launch content for San Andreas. This would have been years before content DLC became common in most games. However, once upon a time, a QA tester who worked at Rockstar Games stated on NeoGAF forums that there was a planned DLC in which CJ would pilot a submarine and a variety of top-secret government missions. And I even DM'd him myself, and he just left me on red. So, yeah. If you take out a camera in the presence of one of CJ's girlfriends, he will tell them to pose for the camera and they'll actually do it. Wherever you aim the camera, your girlfriend will go and stand in frame, so you can take some pretty cool cinematic shots wherever you go. This is a feature that also exists with the homies, and you can even give them the camera to take a photo of CJ. Now, there's enough cut pedestrians to populate an entire new town in San Andreas. Some of these are beta peds that never got finished, but others are so detailed and have so many dialogue lines that it's probably more likely they just weren't implemented properly in the final game. First of all, we have this guy here, which is an unused security guard. He has quite a few voiced lines, but is never seen in the final game unless a bug spawns him during a vigilante mission. Next up is the Mediator, a strange pedestrian who looks almost like a Chinese version of Claude Speed. According to leaked files, this guy would have shown up in the mission Mountain Cloud Boys. Next up we have Psycho, a very strange pedestrian in a green outfit and no voice lines or any indication of what he would have done. But judging by his appearance, he's either some crazy military guy or he wishes he was. We also have an unused, hairy cab driver who's wearing a Hawaiian shirt. He also has quite a few voice lines, so he was either cut late into development or wasn't implemented properly. We also have these two Texas guys. There's not really a lot written about these ones, but they have over 200 unique voice lines. There's a variety of gang pedestrians as well, but I want to shift your focus towards these bike cops here. Now, in the final game, there's only one type of motorcycle police officer that can be seen across the entire state. There were going to be different types found in each city. So for example, this is the Los Santos biker police officer, but these two would have been the San Fierro on the left and Las Venturas on the right versions of the bike cop. Now, it's a shame that these never made it to the final game, but I guess it was just a developer oversight. But this is a beta version of Officer Pulaski, and in an unreleased playing card pack that would have been released by Rockstar Games for GTA San Andreas, we can clearly see that Officer Pulaski at one point did actually look like this. Not only that, but in this set of playing cards we can also see a variety of never before used artworks. Speaking of beta characters though, CJ's beta head is absolutely terrifying. This must have been cut super early into development. I definitely wouldn't have liked to play as a CJ looking this old. Now, we have a few clues that furniture was going to be purchasable for your properties and safe houses. This mod gives you a general idea of how it might have looked. This is something that's seriously advanced and not even something that future GTA games to date have ever offered. There's also 5 unused strings of code which reference likely furniture shops. Cheap furniture, nice furniture, and expensive furniture are just to name a few. Also, we can find furniture shops dotted around the map that still have a similar door that's found on enterable properties throughout the game. There are also some leftover strings that would imply you would have been able to buy electrical appliances, and likely display them in your house. There's a mysterious police bribe hidden inside of this building near the driving school in San Fierro. A knife can also be found inside the tunnel nearby. I'm not sure why San Fierro has so many unusual weapons hidden behind walls, but I guess something must have gone wrong with whoever was dealing with the pickups in these areas. If CJ doesn't have a pistol or a machine gun in his inventory, you can then fly a jetpack and you'll see a fist icon in the top right hand corner. Now, while this is displayed, if you fly over a sawn-off shotgun, you can actually pick it up and use it from the jetpack. This weapon is usually not usable while using the jetpack, so it's a pretty cool detail, and I wonder why Rockstar Games never actually added this to the final game. Now, in the weapons.dat file, there's a string that seems to imply that the jetpack would have counted as a weapon at some point in development. Now, what's interesting is that in the final game, the jetpack is actually registered as a vehicle, which is why when you're using it, you can still use other weapons, and also it doesn't have its icon in the top right-hand corner. However, this is what the unused HUD icon for the jetpack would have been. Something you'll probably find sad to hear is how the Mulholland safe house in early development originally had a fully modelled interior that would allow us to see the skyline of Los Santos. See here in this beta footage from an early trailer, we can see how this same place has a fully modelled interior, but in the final game it's completely gone. By using mods you can bring this back and explore what this safe house could have been in the final game. This is also a clue as to what it may have looked like when Rockstar still had the furniture and electrical purchase ability in the game. It was intended that the player could ride or drive the tram in San Fierro, and maybe even shoot out of the tram in free aim mode, like we get in some missions. I guess we'll never know how this exactly looks, but we do have some audio files which appear to be police dispatch audio.
1021 in Central, Doherty. Suspect last seen in a tram.
In a PlayStation Extreme article dated September 2004, it stated that the cable cars or rails in San Fierro would be jackable and drivable. So I guess this was a real thing and was only cut very late into development. Now, in our last GTA San Andreas useless information video, we briefly discussed the existence of the Rusty Brown's Ring Donuts interior, which is used only in cutscenes with the Crash police officers. However, as we know, this was originally meant to be a location that you could actually go inside and order donuts from. We don't know much about it, but what we do know is that these are the HUD icons that would have been displayed, which would have told you what you would have been purchasing. You can also see from these strings of code that none of these options on the menu had a healthy variant, obviously because they're donuts. Unlike other fast food restaurants in the game where you can at least order a salad or something healthy, if you take a look through the Brady Games strategy guide for GTA San Andreas, now in some of these really early screenshots we can actually get a glimpse that some of the weapon icons were extremely different to what we got in the final game. So let me just show you this mod which has replicated what the original beta icons would have looked like. As you can see, they're a lot weirder, they're a bit more cartoonish, and some of them are kind of bendy. It looks kind of unusual, so I kind of get why they removed it from the game, but it's definitely interesting to look at. In the movie New Jack City, an entire apartment complex called the Carter Complex is taken over and turned into a drug fortress. This was the direct influence used for Big Smoke's crack fortress at the end of GTA San Andreas, and the devs even used the tag Carter in the game files for this building. Did you know that the stairs at the Los Santos airport are tuggable using the baggage handler? This can then be used to access planes like the AT-400, which doors are way too high in the air for CJ to reach. It's really cool how tiny little things like this exist in the game and plenty of us would never have even known. Have you ever wondered why you can't purchase Molotovs from Ammunition and they can only be found around the map as a pickup? Well, obviously that's because Molotovs themselves are sort of a DIY weapon, but it turns out in the original scripting you were meant to be able to make 12 Molotovs for $50 from any gas pumps around the map, filling up bottles yourselves at the gas stations. There's a few mods that recreate how this would have been done, and then we saw the feature in Chinatown Wars on the DS. So it's definitely something that Rockstar Games revisited later on. In an interview with French gaming site Jouac2, Leslie Benzies, former lead producer of Rockstar North, stated they had the idea to add multiple protagonists to GTA San Andreas, but scrapped the idea due to technical limitations. But amazingly, the code for this still exists in the game. Now, the game has the ability to keep different stats and money separate from one another, meaning that the game definitely has the ability to keep track of more than one protagonist. Deep in the game files as well, also discovered by the same scripter, is something called Gunshots Set Oil on Fire. Now, there's no oil in San Andreas, so to speak of, but this definitely gives us an idea that Rockstar Games at one point were planning on having oil spill from vehicles, and you would have the ability to shoot it and set it on fire. While chasing Tenpenny's fire truck, Sweet shouts to CJ saying that there's oil spilling all over the road.
Fire truck's dropping oil!
So this definitely seems like a plausible thing that could have been added to the game. There are some previews released way before the game came out that reveal some fascinating details that we never saw in the final game. For example, in the unofficial PlayStation 2 magazine, issue number 87, it states that the Flats and the Ballers are two confirmed rival gangs. Now, I'm not sure who the Flats are exactly, but it sounds like a beta name. It also confirmed that the Orange Grove families was the name for Grove Street families, and also stated that there are 16,000 unique objects in the game, opposed to GTA Vice City's estimated 5,000 objects. Another thing that's really interesting is it said that the first 3 missions in the game were titled Menace, Drive-By, and Reuniting the Families. Interesting. Menace is definitely not a mission title in the final game, and Reuniting the Families doesn't come until much later. Interestingly, in the unofficial PlayStation 2 magazine, issue number 52 from the UK, it also states how the mission Menace is one of the earliest ones to encounter. It also mentions that you had the ability to purchase tobacco and smoke cigarettes. Really interesting stuff, and I wonder what happened to all of those features. Have you ever wondered what vehicles actually look like at a distance? Well, think no further, because this is how the game draws its low-poly vehicles just before it renders them fully up close. You'll notice that the higher definition version is then rendered into the view. But seeing these low poly versions of these vehicles this up close is really interesting. When exploring the San Fierro Bay in the fog, you can hear foghorns to help the ships navigate. If CJ doesn't call Denise for quite a while, she will actually ring up into the local radio station to complain about him live on air.
Check it out, we got a shout out from Denise in Gatton for her man. Give her a call. She says she misses you, and she said desperate. That's the word she used. She said she's desperate, man. What is this, man? This ain't Lonely Hearts. This is Radio Los Santos. It's all good, though. We gonna keep it moving around here.
In case you didn't know, Guns N' Roses lead singer Axl Rose is the voice of Tommy Nightmare Smith on the in-game radio station KDST. Now, a cool universe-breaking Easter egg is how on the radio station he will say the following line.
Said it before. All you need to get through this life is a little patience and a speedball.
Now, this is a direct parody to the Guns N' Roses song Patience, where Axl Rose says this. In the back of the army truck called the Barracks, you can find crates labelled ammunition, but also do not eat, which is a subtle but comedic joke left in by Rockstar. Reddit user Mechanic has spent years scouring the map of GTA San Andreas, and he's found some pretty important source locations. Let me just say, this is seriously impressive stuff. He managed to find places from which textures were taken or shapes and colours were used in order to basically create the shop fronts you see in San Andreas. I had no idea all of these locations actually existed in real life, and I thought they were just places that Rockstar Games created themselves. He's got an incredible YouTube channel where he discusses some of his findings, but did you know that some textures were used by different video game developers as well? Again, this was found by the same guy who found all of the source locations that we mentioned just a minute ago, and he's managed to find this door texture that Rockstar Games used that seems to be present in a variety of other games, including Vice City. But not only that, but it's also present in Call of Duty. If you're enjoying this video so far, chances are you're one of the thousands of people who enjoy my videos but aren't subscribed, and I'd love to hit 350k anytime now. By entering the jetpack cheat code in the very first mission when Big Smoke's car is blown up, you can activate the jetpack just as CJ dives off camera. Now, when he does this, he lands flat on his stomach, and the result of activating the cheat code once you've done this is that you'll see CJ stuck in this position. Now, by entering the cheat code again, you can actually fly the jetpack horizontally. I told you guys this video was pointless information, and now I'm delivering. Now, this will only work if you change the assigned keyboard key for crouch from C to something else, because otherwise CJ will stand up while he's laying down. The game has a variety of weather types for different areas. For example, Countryside Sunny is a totally different look to San Fierro Sunny or Los Venturas Sunny, for example. In some rare occasions, the Rockstar devs decided to change these weather cycles and break the matrix. Like for example, in the very first opening mission, this iconic sunset is only here because the weather type is set to Countryside Sunny, so you will never see this sunset again in Los Santos. There's a well-known glitch where if the player flies far out enough to sea, and I'm talking several in-game days worth of flying, eventually as the distance becomes so great, the game begins to break and glitch a little bit. Now, one result of this is, for example, it will create gang turf all over the map, but additionally this spray tag was found in the game files and shows us that it's possible that taking over gang turf once upon a time wasn't just restricted to Los Santos. As you can see, this is a spray tag for a gang that should only exist in San Fierro. Now, you can't actually get a 6-star wanted level until way into the later chapters of the game. CJ can only get a 5-star wanted level after Farewell My Love, and gets a 6-star wanted level after the mission by Verdant Meadows, where you have to purchase the aircraft graveyard. So for context, that mission is the 68th mission in the game, meaning that you need to complete well over the half of the game's missions before you can even unlock a 6-star wanted level, which I found really interesting, but it's totally pointless. It's time for us to move on to the HD universe. If you've enjoyed so far, please subscribe, because over 90% of people that watch these videos aren't subscribed. There are over 50 objects that can be picked up and thrown by Nico. Bottles, burgers, bricks, to French fries, cigarettes, MP3 players, and plenty more. But if Nico picks up a cigarette, he'll actually hold it between his 2 fingers like a cigarette smoker would. But did you know that Nico can actually knock himself out with a brick? Did you know that if you zoom in with the camera on the mobile phone, it will actually become pixelated, just like phones in 2008 where the game takes place? Funnily enough, Nico's phone is actually based off the Sony Ericsson W302 with only a 2 megapixel camera. If Nico owns Playboy's mansion, you can actually take friends there to play pool. The game never actually explains this, so many of you probably didn't even realise you could do this. There's not really any benefits besides a much nicer looking table that's a lot cleaner. If you take a regular car to a car wash, Nico will put coins in the machine, drive through, and let the machine clean his car. However, have you ever wondered what happens if you do this in a convertible? Well, as it turns out, Rockstar Games thought about this, and instead of going through the machine, an actual worker will wipe the car down with a rag, which is crazy detail. While you're hanging around with friends doing various activities, if you try and ring the same friend on the phone while you're with them, you'll hear some unique dialogue from Nico.
Ah, that's me being stupid. Oh, that's just me messing around. Just messing around with this thing. These stupid phones.
If you try and take videos or pictures of some of the girls in the clubs, the bouncers will come along and kick you out with force. You will only find female nurses inside the hospitals in the game. The only time a male nurse or doctor will spawn is during the mission Flatline, where in this mission 2 scripted doctors or nurses will spawn in the mission. Outside of this, you will never find them in free roam. Playing video games with your friends was going to become an activity just like playing pool or going drinking. Unfortunately, that feature was cut from the game late into development.
You want to do some gaming?
Listen, you want to play video games sometime? You got time to play video games? Sure, I'll do some gaming, NB. Just don't tell anybody. I'll wait for you at my crib for an hour, alright?
Additionally, to make this even more interesting, you can see these zombie resurrection posters around the world, and there's files in the game coding that suggests that this was a zombie heads-up display, meaning there might have been a zombie horde video game the same way you were able to in Saints Row 2. Not only this, but there's a 3D render of Nico holding a revolver, which is one of the weapons rumoured to be in this game mode. On top of that, you can actually find an arcade in-game, which was supposed to have an interior. Nico would have gone inside here during a mission, and if you get close enough to the doors, you can still hear music from inside playing. Thanks to the Rockstar Games social club, we can see a glimpse of some of the unused artworks, like this one here of Dwayne Playboy X, this one of Michelle sitting at a desk at the internet cafe. This one would have been a loading screen artwork of a guy eating in a restaurant about to be shot in the back of the head. And we also have this one of Nico at an adult club, and on the right hand side, a pretty early rendition of Nico himself. We get a few glimpses of other artworks that never got released as well. Maybe Rockstar will release them some point in the future as part of a 20th anniversary special, but I don't know. Final Interview is one of the most unique missions in the entire Grand Theft Auto history. Nico attends a job interview at the Goldberg, Leisner and Shyster building to meet with a lawyer named Tom Goldberg. However, his original name was actually intended to be Tom Jackson, to parody the lawyer Jack Thompson, who in real life has been trying to sue Rockstar for many years over violence in Grand Theft Auto. Now, if Nico pulls out a gun, this lawyer will say guns don't kill people, video games do.
Guns don't kill people, video games do.
This is obviously Rockstar taking a poke at him because of him trying to sue them in real life over video game violence. However, what's really unique about this mission is if Nico pulls out a variety of other weapons, he will react uniquely to each one.
Whatever makes you comfortable. Oh, I don't know what the policy is where you're from, Nikolai, but this is a non-smoking office. If it helps you concentrate, though, well, keep it going. Have you got ADD?
The toll booths are pretty annoying in GTA 4. You have to slow right down, wait for Nico to give them the money, wait for the barricade to go up. You lose all your momentum and speed. But did you know that if you slip through the tiny gaps in between the kiosks, you can actually make it through without paying a single penny? And yes, if you're wondering, this does work in cars as well, but you have to pull off some pretty good driving skills in order to make it work. There's this giant rock on the third island which mysteriously has this NPC on top of it that just constantly does yoga. No matter what time of day you come here, they will always be up here. There's no way up or down from this thing, so it makes you wonder how they got here in the first place. Have you ever wondered why the game is called GTA 4? Despite it being the 8th iteration in the series after GTA 1, 2, 3, Vice City, San Andreas, and the Stories games. Well, the leap in technology was so great, and the game was so far above in technological achievements that Rockstar thought it was appropriate this time to represent this by making the official predecessor to the 3D era games. All of the PS2 GTA games are all built on the same engine, the RenderWare engine. However, GTA 4 was a brand new engine working on Rage, the Rockstar advanced game engine, so they thought it was appropriate to mark this leap in technology by naming it GTA 4. So yes, it's the next leap up from all the games that were working on the RenderWare engines, which was from GTA 3 to San Andreas. By accessing this website, you can purchase brand new ringtones that you can use on Nico's telephone. Also, there's a ringtone on the phone that's the same as the GTA 1 theme tune. However, you can find this busker or saxophone player all around Liberty City. It turns out if you tip this guy cash 3 times in a row, you'll unlock a secret ringtone called St. Thomas. GTA 4 has some of the rarest merchandise of any Grand Theft Auto game. Rockstar Games actually rewarded players for reaching 100% with this unique key of the city. Only the first 1,000 players to do this actually received one of these bad boys, and they now sell for thousands on eBay. Even rarer is this real deactivated hand grenade with a GTA 4 pin chain. This was a real thing that Rockstar Games actually gave to fan sites. Another really awesome piece of memorabilia is this stainless steel Grand Theft Auto 4 baseball bat. There's been so many other really cool things like a golden spoon for the Ballad of Gay Tony and even bottles of beer for in-game brands. All of these fetch hundreds if not thousands now on eBay. The train seen in the very first trailer is actually going the wrong way, because in the final game this train is supposed to be going the other way on the other side of the track. A random change, but I don't really know why they changed this anyway. Another really interesting analysis from trailer 1 is you can see a ferry at this ferry terminal, but in the final game there are no ferries in the game, leading people to believe that this was a cut mode of transport where you could fast travel between islands. What you may have spotted though is that there's seagulls in the very first trailer. Are there any seagulls in GTA 4? As it turns out, there are actually seagulls in the game. There's only 2 places these can spawn, and they only spawn at a certain time of day. Take a close look at my telephone in game, and the birds will suddenly appear out of nowhere. It's crazy to think that not only pigeons exist in this game. The Grand Theft Auto logo in the very opening cutscene of the game is actually a physical 3D object in the game that Rockstar animated. Shout out to whatever for actually finding this, and I wanted to use that clip because I thought it was hilarious. The plaques found on the dinosaur bones in the museum have a hilarious message which reads, "This big bastard took a few days to knock up because he had to be done by one sole hand of a prop artist. But alas, and feast your eyes on this 21,000 poly maniac. T-Rex right up your ass. How do you like them apples?" Typical Rockstar humour right there. It's possible that when choosing to kill Playboy X instead of Dwayne, he can actually fall to his own death due to a glitch, therefore technically making it so that he caused his own death and not Nico.
You could have been someone, Nico!
Wait, what?
There's a total of 101 clothing items you can buy in the game across 3 clothing stores. There's 36 items in Pursuit, 31 in Modo, and 34 in the Russian clothing shops. It would cost the player only $28,076 to buy every single item of clothing in the game, but an impressive $25,800 of this is entirely in Pursuit's clothing, the most expensive store in the game. Now, the Russian shop was actually originally intended to be a Binko outlet, but for some reason was changed for an unknown reason. Now, this screenshot from an in-game billboard shows this store before it was changed to the Russian store. If you head inside of a fast food restaurant and you head behind the counter, you can see on the cashier machine there is a button that says Ask CJ. Obviously a hint or reference to San Andreas. GTA 4 was nearly a PlayStation 3 exclusive, never coming to Xbox at all. Now, Microsoft allegedly paid Rockstar Games $75 million for this not to happen. Part of that deal also included the DLC packs that would come much later, which did arrive on Xbox much sooner than PlayStation, around a year before that. It's crazy to see that Microsoft were quite literally panicking about the idea of GTA 4 being a PlayStation exclusive. This is a beta map that's been found in the game files, and you can see there was going to be a stretch of land in the northwestern side of the map. Possibly more of a countryside area, a forest or a woodlands. I would love to have seen this, but also pay attention to the airport, which is much more expansive and bigger. Speaking of which, this is an even earlier drawing or concept of the GTA 4 map. And as you can see, the developers at the time were toying with the idea of having more than just Liberty City and actually featuring surrounding mountains and countryside. But Rockstar Games at a certain point in development decided that quality was more important than quantity, and instead decided to shift their focus on the engine and physics more than the map. Just like San Andreas, GTA 4 was going to give you the ability to throw up your food if you ate too much of it. And there's actually files in the audio in-game where you can listen to how the NPCs would have reacted.
Giving you no more food. Now I gotta clean that shit up.
Dude, you just harshed on the floor. No more for you, Sir Puke-a-Lot. Cool, I see corn.
In the mission She's a Keeper, Nico has to deliver the kidnapped girl Gracie to where Paki is located. Now, there's actually a secret cutscene that you can trigger for this mission. This is how the cutscene is supposed to go if Nico delivers her without taking too much damage to the vehicle. However, if the vehicle takes too much damage to the rear or the boot, shall we say, or the trunk, shall we say, there's actually a secret mission failed cutscene that will play.
Nico, what took you? Fucking how you say. Guidos was all over my tail.
Shit, Nico, her neck's broke. Ah, fucking control your driving when the cargo's this valuable. I'll be in touch.
Have you ever wondered why the Statue of Liberty or Statue of Happiness is holding a coffee cup? Well, did you also notice that the face of the Statue of Happiness is Hillary Clinton's? Well, this is actually a nod to the hot coffee controversy. Rockstar Games got into some serious trouble over this because there were some files found in the game that referenced a mini-game where CJ could sleep with his girlfriends and the player would actually have to take control during that activities. This landed Rockstar in some serious hot water, where even Hillary Clinton was discussing this hot coffee mini-game in Congress. So Rockstar decided to put her face on the Statue of Happiness and give her a steaming hot cup of coffee to reference this controversy. Elderly NPCs have significantly less health than younger, more fit NPCs. As you can see from the gameplay, it is much easier to knock out and knock down an elderly NPC than it is a younger NPC. They generally will have more health and be able to fight you a lot better. Despite Roman's property being burnt to ashes, you can actually still use the parking space outside and it will function fully, allowing you to store vehicles here and come back for them later. Zit is a telephone number in-game which you can ring and it will give you information on the songs that are playing within your vicinity. If you do this while you're inside an ice cream truck playing the GTA 4 theme tune, you will actually end up activating a secret cheat code which will give Nico full health and armor and show you a unique text message saying you've discovered the GTA 4 theme tune. Did you know that the ice cream truck jingles actually react to how fast you're going? With a well-timed Molotov cocktail, it's actually possible for Nico to survive an extremely long fall. The reason for this is because the Molotov cocktail triggers a ragdoll, but if Nico then gets put out of fire, or the fire goes out, shall we say, while he's midway through the air, it will reset his animation cycle. However, if this is not timed very well, or it goes wrong like you saw there, well, yeah, it's not going to end well. Now, Hostile Negotiation is a really cool mission in GTA 4. Definitely, it's one of those missions that has you feeling like an action hero. It's the mission where Roman gets kidnapped and Nico has to head to a warehouse to fight the enemies and retrieve Roman from the hostage situation. Did you know that Rockstar Games coded it so that there were NPCs on the rooftop with rocket launchers in the event that the player decided to approach the warehouse in a helicopter from the sky? Now, this is one of the only missions that actually took this into consideration. But also, once Dimitri sends you the photo of Roman, you can actually call him and hear a secret conversation.
I got your message, Dimitri, you piece of shit. You're a dead man. A dead man. Before you die, I'm going to cut your face off. Then I'm going to hang it on my wall to remind me what a lying, cheating, treacherous scumbag looks like. Goodbye, friend.
There's a variety of streets that never made it to the final game with pretty funny names to them. The only way you'd be able to hear these is if Nico took a taxi and selected the streets as the destination. So let's take a listen to some of the cut street names that would have been added.
Yeah? So, can you take me to Broccoli Street? Take me to, I did it my way. I want to go to Coconut Avenue.
There's a theme park called Funland, and it just so turns out that some of the artwork for the rides are previous artworks from Rockstar Games, like San Andreas. But there's also a mini golf course with lots of like landmarks and objects that are from previous games as well, like the giant chicken from San Andreas and the electric pylons in Los Santos. This is a beta screenshot of GTA 4, which depicts Nico with an MP5, but the MP5 never made it to the final game, and instead we do have a submachine gun that is like an MP5, but it's actually modelled on an entirely different submachine gun. It's kind of a shame because the MP5 is one of my favourite weapons and one of the best looking weapons in my opinion. I don't mind the one from GTA 4 so much, but personally I would have rather had an actual MP5. That would have been really awesome. There are some hidden developer maps high up in the sky, way above the sky limit. You wouldn't be able to reach there in a helicopter, but thankfully using a mod menu you can actually teleport to these test maps. Now, one of these maps is just a generic prop map where the developers were testing how Nico's animations would perform. So there's various blocks and places to take cover and things to climb on. There's also another one called CJ Test. Now, this is probably because there's a developer that worked on the game called CJ Dick, and I believe it's his test map. But in this map, it's far more interesting. There's props, there's animals, there's doorways that they were testing, and there's a giant wall of explosive barrels that you can interact with, which provided me much entertainment while researching for this video. I actually have an entire video dedicated to unexplored GTA locations where we explore this a little bit further, so check that out if you're interested. There's some completely unused death music that would have played once Nico had died, and personally I think this music is really cool. Some of them sound really unique and quite haunting, so take a listen to some of the snippets I've got for you. Personally, I really like them. The official GTA 4 artwork depicts Nico with his signature fingerless gloves. However, these gloves are nowhere to be found in-game. However, these gloves are actually within the game files, and they can actually be activated with the use of certain trainers. Why this was never actually activated or unlockable in the actual game is a total mystery. The cover girl, known as Lola Del Rio, actually has more than 5 fingers on one of her hands. This was a complete slip-up and oversight from the illustrator, and she also no longer appears in the actual game. However, you can find her police file on the police computers. She's only 22 years old and was born in San Fierro. Tucked in the courtyard of the Civilization Committee, there's an art sculpture with a traffic cone on its head. Rockstar had the idea to add colourful MP3 players into the game, where the player could then listen to music while on the street. At the time of GTA 4's release, Apple iPods were the height of their success, and featuring an MP3 player would have really captured the magic of this time period. I mean, how many of you watching this video remember the iconic colourful Apple adverts from the late 2000s? As a piece of extra trivia, GTA 4 at the time was the biggest undertaking by Rockstar Games ever. It had an estimated budget of $100 million, which was a record in 2008. It also had a script of over 1,000 pages of dialogue. Now, you're probably wondering if GTA 5 is next. I haven't actually made that video yet. But if you'd like to see it, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned, and let me know down in the comments below.